Your last blood test came back normal. Your doctor said you're fine, and you still feel like something is quietly falling apart. You're not wrong.
Here's what no one tells you inside that 7-minute appointment. The reference range on your testosterone result, that number your lab printed as normal, was built from a population that includes sick men, sedentary men, obese men, and men in their 80s. It was never designed to tell you if your hormones are optimal. It was designed to tell you if you need emergency intervention. There's a massive difference between those two things, and most men over 35 are living in the gap between them. Technically fine on paper, functionally declining in real life. Today, we're going to talk about what's actually happening to testosterone after 35, why the standard blood test is measuring the wrong thing, and why your biological hormonal age may be 10 to 20 years older than your birth certificate says. This is Hidden Health Protocol. Let's get into it.
Most people think testosterone is about muscle and libido. That's the surface. Here's what it actually regulates. Testosterone controls insulin sensitivity, which means how efficiently your cells use glucose. Low testosterone is directly associated with increased risk of type 2 diabetes, independent of body weight. It regulates red blood cell production, which affects oxygen delivery to every tissue in your body, including your brain. Less testosterone, less cellular oxygen, more mental fog. It governs mitochondrial density in muscle tissue. Your mitochondria are your cellular power plants. Testosterone directly stimulates the formation of new mitochondria. When levels drop, your cells produce less energy at the molecular level. That's not fatigue, that's biology. It modulates dopaminergic signaling, meaning it directly influences the brain circuits responsible for motivation, drive, and reward. When researchers look at testosterone and depression, they don't find a correlation, they find a mechanism. And it maintains bone mineral density, a factor that doesn't become relevant until you're 60, and suddenly it becomes the only thing that matters. So, when testosterone declines, and it does, starting around 30 at approximately 1% per year, you're not just losing libido, you are losing metabolic efficiency, cognitive performance, cellular energy production, and psychological resilience, simultaneously. Quietly, while your lab report says normal.
Now here's where it gets technically important, and this is the part your doctor almost certainly did not explain. When your lab measures testosterone, they measure total testosterone, but total testosterone is largely useless as a standalone number. Here's why. Most of the testosterone in your bloodstream is bound to a protein called sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG. When testosterone is bound to SHBG, it is completely inactive. Your body cannot use it. It is biologically invisible. What actually matters is free testosterone, the fraction that is unbound and available to act on your cells. In most men, that's approximately 2 to 3% of total testosterone. 2%. And here's the critical part. SHBG increases with age. A 2025 study published in PMC tracked SHBG levels across age groups in healthy men and found that SHBG was significantly higher in men over 50 compared to men in their 30s, 41 versus 29 nanomoles per liter on average. As SHBG rises, it captures more testosterone, leaving less free testosterone available, even when total testosterone looks completely normal. This means a man in his mid-40s can have a total testosterone of 550 nanograms per deciliter, technically within normal range, and have free testosterone levels equivalent to a man in his late 60s. Your lab report does not tell you this. Your doctor in a 7-minute appointment does not tell you this. The correct biomarker panel for testosterone isn't just total testosterone. It is total testosterone, free testosterone, ideally measured by equilibrium dialysis, not calculated, SHBG, estradiol, because testosterone converts to estrogen via aromatase, and that ratio matters as much as the absolute levels, LH and FSH, to understand whether the signal from the brain to the testes is functioning properly. That is 5 numbers. Most standard panels give you 1. Now I want to show you something that reframes this entire conversation. The annual 1% decline after age 30, that's the age-related component. That part is expected. What is not expected, and what has been documented across multiple longitudinal studies, is what researchers call the secular decline, a drop in testosterone levels that is independent of age. Meaning, men today start with lower testosterone than men the same age in previous generations. A January 2026 review published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences, one of the most comprehensive analyses of this topic, confirmed that testosterone is declining across populations at a rate that cannot be explained by aging alone. When you account for the generational baseline drop and the age-related decline together, the data suggests something striking. A 35-year-old man in 2026 may have testosterone levels equivalent to a 50 to 55-year-old man from the 1980s. You are not just getting older, you are starting from a lower baseline than any previous generation. The mechanisms being studied include chronic exposure to endocrine-disrupting chemicals, phthalates, and BPA found in plastics, food packaging, personal care products, and drinking water. A 2024 study found microplastic particles in human testicular tissue. A 2026 analysis from McGill University confirmed that BPA exposure is statistically associated with measurable hormonal changes in adult men. Combined with chronic sleep deprivation, elevated cortisol from psychological stress, sedentary behavior, and ultra-processed diets high in refined carbohydrates, all of which independently suppress testosterone production, you have a perfect biological environment for hormonal collapse. This is not alarmism. This is peer-reviewed science that mainstream medicine has been slow to translate into clinical practice.
So what does optimal actually look like, as opposed to merely normal? Functional medicine and longevity researchers generally operate with reference ranges that are considerably different from hospital labs. For total testosterone, most longevity-focused clinicians consider 600 to 900 nanograms per deciliter to be the optimal range for men under 60. The hospital normal often begins at 250 or 300. For free testosterone, optimal is generally considered above 15 to 20 picograms per milliliter. Standard lab ranges often accept numbers as low as 9. For SHBG, optimal for men is approximately 20 to 40 nanomoles per liter. Values chronically above this range, which rise naturally with age, are clinically significant even when total testosterone appears normal. For estradiol, the testosterone to estradiol ratio matters. Excess aromatization, the conversion of testosterone to estrogen, produces symptoms nearly identical to low testosterone, including fat accumulation, emotional lability, and reduced libido, even with adequate total testosterone levels. The first step, the foundational step, is knowing your actual numbers across all 5 markers, not just total testosterone, not just what your doctor ordered. If your panel only measured total testosterone and your result was normal, you have approximately 20% of the information you need to understand your hormonal status. The remaining 80% is sitting in biomarkers that were never ordered. Let me summarize what we covered today. Testosterone does not just regulate muscle and libido. It governs insulin sensitivity, mitochondrial density, cognitive performance, bone density, and psychological drive. A decline in testosterone is a systemic biological event. The standard testosterone blood test measures total testosterone, a number that is largely uninformative without free testosterone and SHBG. As men age, rising SHBG levels trap more testosterone, making total levels appear normal while functional levels decline. The generational baseline for testosterone is falling, independent of individual aging. Men today may be starting 15 to 20 years behind hormonally compared to previous generations, driven largely by chronic exposure to endocrine-disrupting chemicals and lifestyle factors that directly suppress production.
And optimal testosterone is not the same as within normal range. The reference ranges on your lab report were not designed for performance. They were designed for pathology detection. If you're over 35, experiencing fatigue, mental fog, declining motivation, difficulty maintaining muscle, or changes in libido, and your last blood test came back normal, the most important thing you can do is get the right panel interpreted against the right reference ranges. I've left a resource in the description that goes deeper on this, including the formulation I consider best supported by the clinical literature for men looking to support their hormonal environment naturally without a prescription. Take a look if today's information resonated with you.